In the heart of Enugu, there was a big house where the Wankos family lived, known for its towering gates and lush garden. The mansion was a symbol of wealth and prestige, and the Wankos family itself was equally respected. Chief Wankwo, a highly successful businessman, had built his empire from the ground up, investing in oil, real estate, and politics. The family's wealth was unmatched, and they lived a life of privilege and power. But behind the grand walls of the Wankwo's mansion, there was a quiet storm brewing. Obinna, the only son of Chief Wankwo and his wife Nkemjika, had always been the apple of his mother's eyes. From the moment he was born, Nkemjika had devoted herself entirely to him. She had raised him with all the love and attention a mother could give. But as the years passed, her love became something more complicated, a kind of love that began to border on obsession. Obinna had grown into a tall, handsome young man, educated abroad and poised to take over the family's business. With his charm and intelligence, he was the ideal son. But Nkemjika's biggest fear was that one day another woman would come into Obinna's life and take him away from her. This fear consumed her, and she made a silent vow to herself: no woman would come between her and her son. One Saturday afternoon, Obinna came home with a woman he met at a charity gala in Lagos. Her name was Adugo, and she was stunning. She had the poise and grace of a queen, and her background was impressive. She was a medical doctor who had just returned from studying in the United States. Obinna had fallen for her, and he brought her home to his parents, hoping for their approval. Mama, Papa, I want you to meet someone special, Obinna said with a grin as they entered the grand living room. This is Adugo. Nkemjika sized her up immediately. Her smile warm but her mind already racing. Adugo was exactly the kind of woman she had feared. Beautiful, educated and confident. She was the perfect match for Obinna, and that terrified Nkemjika. Adugo, you are welcome, Kenjika said, giving her a polite hug. A doctor? That is wonderful. Obinna is lucky to have found someone special like you. Adugo smiled graciously. Thank you, Ma. It's an honor to meet you. However, deep down, Nkenjika knew she would never approve of this woman. As Adugo and Obinna continued their relationship, Nkenjika began devising her plans. She needed to act fast before things become too serious. But she didn't want to create a direct confrontation, knowing that could push Obinna away. So she decided to play a subtle manipulative game. One afternoon, while sitting with Obinna over a tea, Kemjika casually asked, Obinna, have you ever noticed anything odd about Adugo? I've been hearing rumors, disturbing ones. What rumors, Mama? What rumors are you referring to? Obinna asked, his brows frowning. Nothing too concrete, my son, but it seems her family might be struggling financially. You know how people can sometimes use relationship to solve their problems. Obinna's defenses went up immediately. Mama, I don't believe that. Adugo has never shown any interest in money. Kemjika smiled warmly but continued planting doubt. I hope so, my son. Just be careful. You never know who might be after your wealth. Obinna brushed off her comments, but the seed of doubt had been sown. Over the next few weeks, as Nkemjika dug deeper into Adugo's background, she found out that Adugo's father had indeed fallen on hard time. Nkemjika knew this was her opportunity to strike. One night, after a dinner party, Nkemjika approached Obinna with fabricated evidence, bank documents that she had discovered through her network showing that Adugo's family was seeking loans from various banks. Obinna, I didn't want to show you this, so I did not want to show you, but I just have to. You know now, you're my son. I cannot allow anything to harm you. You deserve to know the truth, and that's why I'm bringing this to your notice. Kenjika said, handing him the document. Obinna stared at the paper, his mind racing. He wanted to believe in Adugo, but the doubts were growing louder. When he confronted Adugo, she was heartbroken. Obinna, You have to believe me, Adugo pleaded. Yes, my family is struggling, but I have never asked you for money. I don't care about that. But Obinna, overwhelmed by doubt and fear, broke off the relationship. He regretted it almost immediately, but by then it was too late. Adugo left, heartbroken and betrayed. Emjika watched from the shadow, satisfied that her son was back under her control. But Obinna was not the same afterward. He became more withdrawn, less trusting, and more focused on his work. Months passed, and Obinna buried himself in the family's business, determined to prove himself worthy of his father's empire. He spent long hours in the office, attending meetings, managing projects, and learning the ropes of the oil industry. But despite his professional success, his heart remained heavy from the loss of Adugo. Then, one day, while attending a business conference in Abuja, Obinna met Ngozi, a teacher with a humble background. She was different from Adugo in every way: simple, soft spoken, and grounded in her values. She didn't come from wealthy or high society, and that intrigued Obinna. Ngozi was gentle and kind, and soon Obinna found himself drawn to her simplicity. She didn't care about his money or status, which was a refreshing change for him. He felt like he could be himself around her, free from the pressure of his family's wealth. After a few months of dating, Obinna brought Ngozi home to meet his parents. This time he was cautious. He didn't want a repeat of what had happened with Adugo, but he also knew that his mother would have an opinion. Njika greeted Ngozi with her casual charm, but inside she was fuming. Ngozi was not the polished, well-bred woman she had envisioned for her son. She was too simple, too ordinary for someone like Obinna. That evening, after dinner, Nkemjika wasted no time in planting seed of doubt in Obinna's mind. Obinna, Ngozi seemed like a lovely girl, I know, Nkemjika began. But don't you think she's a bit inexperienced in her world? She may not be able to handle the pressure of being part of this family. Obinna sighed. Mama, I don't care about that. I love her for who she is, and that's what matters. Nkemjika's smile remained, but her mind was already working on a plan. She had to get rid of Ngozi. By this time, she couldn't use the same tactic as before. Ngozi wasn't interested in wealth or status, so Nkemjika had to find another way. As the weeks went by, Nkemjika began to subtly undermine Ngozi, questioning her intentions and casting doubts on her ability to fit into their world. She even went so far as to manipulate situations to make Ngozi feel out of place during family's gathering, intentionally making conversation about business and society that Ngozi couldn't participate in. Ngozi, feeling increasingly uncomfortable, started pulling away from Obinna. She felt like she didn't belong in this world and that his family would never accept her. One evening, after yet another awkward family dinner, Ngozi confronted Obinna. Obinna, I don't think this is going to work, Ngozi said, tears in her eyes. Your family will never accept me. Obinna was stunned. He loved Ngozi, but he couldn't deny that his mother's word had started to seep into his thoughts. He hesitated, and then hesitation was all Ngozi needed. She walked away, leaving Obinna standing there unsure of what just happened. Nkemjika watched from the shadow, smiled to herself. She had won again. Obinna, now single once more, threw himself into his work with even more seriousness. His relationship had crumbled, and he blamed himself for not being strong enough to stand up to his mother. He began to question whether he would ever find a woman who would truly fit into his life. Then, there came another lady, beautiful one. She is called Chidinma, a force of nature in her own right. Unlike Adugo and Ngozi, Chidinma was not easily intimidated or swayed. She was a successful entrepreneur with her own thriving business in fashion. She had her own money, her own power, and didn't need anybody to give her validation. This confidence and independence caught Obinna off guard. They met at a business event in Lagos where Chidinma was being honored for her success in the fashion industry. She was bold, witty, and had no time for games. Obinna was instantly drawn to her, but he also knew that Chidinma wouldn't be easy to win over. And even more concerning, He wasn't sure how his mother would react to such a strong willed woman. When Obinna introduced Chidinma to his family, Kemjika was once again cordial on the surface but instantly felt threatened. Chidinma didn't seek approval, didn't try to impress, and didn't care about fitting in. Kemjika sensed that this woman would be a much bigger challenge than the others. Kemjika's usual trick and scheme, small insults, raising doubts, and manipulating conversation, didn't seem to have any effect on Chidinma. She was unbothered. When Kemjika tried to criticize her in front of the family, Chidinma would respond with poise and confidence, never allowing Kemjika to gain the upper hand. One evening, Nkemjika invited Chidinma over for a family dinner. The setting was grand, with the finest dishes and decoration. Obina was happy and excited, but Nkemjika had a different plan in mind. She had arranged the dinner as a test, hoping to embarrass Chidinma or make her feel uncomfortable throughout the meal. Nkemjika asked pointed questions about Chidinma's business, trying to catch her in a lie or mistake. So, Chidinma, I hear your fashion business is doing quite well, Kemjika said with a sweet but calculated smile. But with the market the way it is, aren't you worried about keeping it going? Running a business isn't easy for a woman, especially in Nigeria. Chidinma met her gaze without flinching. Business isn't easy for anyone, man or woman. But with hard work, vision, and determination, it thrives. I've faced many challenges, but I've always overcome them. Kemjika smiled, faltered. This wasn't the answer she expected. She pressed further, trying to poke holes in Chidinma's success. Of course, but in our world, connection matters as much as hard work. I'm sure you've had a little help along the way. I can imagine someone in your position would need a powerful man to back her. Chidinma's eyes narrowed slightly, sensing the insult hidden in Kemjika's word. She smiled gracefully, but there was fire in her eyes. My business was built from the ground up, by my hands, without the help of any man. I believe women are capable of achieving greatness on their own. Obinna, sitting beside her, felt a swell of pride. He loved Chidinma's strength, her independence. But he also sensed the tension rising in the room. He knew his mother well enough to realize that this was just the beginning. As the night wore on, Kemjika continued to ask more and more questions, but nothing seemed to bother Chidinma. In fact, the more Kemjika tried to belittle her, the more confident Chidinma became. By the end of the evening, it was clear that Nkemjika's plan had backfired. Chidinma had proven herself, and Obinna admired her even more. But Nkemjika wasn't one to give up easily. She became more desperate, realizing that this time her son was serious. Obinna had never been this protective of anyone, and it worried her. She had to act fast before Chidinma became a permanent part of his life, so she decided to take things to the next level. One day, Nkemjika visited a powerful Dibia, a man known for his mystical abilities. She had never resorted to such measures before, but she was willing to do anything to stop Chidinma from marrying her son. She asked the Dibia for something to break the bond between them, a curse that would drive them apart. The Dibia, a mysterious figure in a dark hut, looked at Nkemjika with a piercing eye. Are you sure you want to do this? He asked, his voice low and scary. Once you start down this path, there's no going back. I must, Nkemjika said, her voice trembling with resolve. I cannot lose my son. The Dibia prepared a small portion and gave her a set of instructions. This will create a wedge between them. Use it wisely, and your son will return to you. Nkemjika returned home with the portion, her heart pounding. She knew this was risky, but she felt she had no other choice. That evening, during a family dinner, she secretly poured the portion into Chidinma's drink. No one noticed as Chidinma took a sip. But as the event progressed, something strange began to happen. Chidinma suddenly felt uneasy, her stomach twisted, and a sense of dread washed over her. She excused herself from the table, feeling as if something dark was pressing down on her. Over the next few days, things started to fall apart. Obinna noticed a change in Chidinma. She became distant, withdrawn, and more cranky than usual. It was as if the love between them was slowly being drained away, replaced by tension and confusion. Chidinma, what's wrong? Obinna asked one night as they sat in their apartment. You've been acting strange lately. Is something bothering you? Chidinma shook her head, her eyes filled with tears. She couldn't explain. I don't know, Obinna. I feel like I'm losing control of myself. I feel trapped. Obinna tried to comfort her, but nothing he did seemed to help. The argument between them grew more frequent, and Chidinma's once vibrant personality seemed to fade. Ikenjika watched from the sideline, satisfied that her plan was working. She had created the rift she needed. But then, something unexpected happened. Chidinma, desperate to understand what was happening to her, sought out her own spiritual advisor. She visited a local priest who specialized in prayers for deliverance. After hearing her story and sensing the spiritual attack, the priest prayed for her and performed a cleansing ritual. During the prayer, the priest revealed that dark forces were at work trying to tear her away from Obinna. There's someone close to you, someone who doesn't want this relationship to succeed, the priest said, his voice grave. Chidinma was stunned. Who could it be? The priest didn't give her a name, but urged her to trust her instinct and remain strong. Your relationship is being tested, but if you can withstand this, the truth will come to light. Chidinma returned to Obinna, more determined than ever to fight for their love. She confided in him about what the priest had said, and although Obinna was skeptical at first, he couldn't ignore the strange changes that had taken place over the past few weeks. Together, they decided to investigate. One evening, while Obinna was visiting his parents, he overheard a conversation between his mother and one of her close friends. They were speaking in low tones, but the words he caught were enough to freeze him in a place. The Dibia said it will work. I gave her the potion myself, Nkemjika whispered. It's only a matter of time before she leaves him for good. Obinna felt the cold chill run down his spine. He stepped into the room, his face pale with shock. Mama, what have you done? He demanded. Kenjika jumped, startled by his presence. She stammered, trying to cover her tracks, but it was too late. Obinna had heard everything. You went to a Dibia to curse Chidinma, to break us apart. Obinna's voice was filled with disbelief and anger. How could you, Mama? How could you do this to me? Kemjika, seeing the hurt in his son's eye, broke down in tears. Obinna, I'm so sorry. I was afraid. I didn't want to lose you, my son. Obinna shook his head, his heart heavy with betrayal. You already lost me, Mama. This is not love. This is control. You've ruined everything. The truth of Nkemjika's action came to light, and the family was thrown into chaos. Chief Nwankwo, devastated by his wife's deception, demanded she make things right. Nkemjika, filled with guilt and remorse, went to Chidinma to apologize. Chidinma, she said, her voice trembling, I was wrong. I let my fear control me. I thought I was protecting my son. But I see now that I was only hurting him and you. Please, Nem, forgive me. Oh, Bikonu. Chidinma, though hurt by Nkemjika's actions, saw the sincerity in her eye. She knew that holding on to resentment would only cause more pain. After a long moment, she nodded. I forgive you, Mama. I forgive you, Chidinma said softly. But trust is something that takes time to rebuild. With Nkemjika's heartfelt apology, the curse was broken, and the rift between Chidinma and Obinna began to heal. Obinna, though deeply affected by his mother's betrayal, knew that love had the power to overcome even the darkest challenges. The wedding between Obinna and Chidinma took place months later, a grand celebration that brought together the elite of Nigeria. But more importantly, it was a symbol of love conquering fear and forgiveness healing old wounds. Nkemjika, standing by his son's side, watched as Obinna and Chidinma exchanged their vows. For the first time in years, she felt at peace. She had not lost her son, instead, she had gained a daughter. The Nwankwo's family, once fractured by fear and control, was finally whole again. As Obinna and Chidinma began their new life together, they knew that their love had been tested by fire and emerged stronger than ever. Thank you so much, my lovely people, for listening to me again. I hope that you enjoyed this story. Thank you. Can you please leave a comment in the comment section? Let me know what you have learned from this. And I thank you for always coming around to listen to me every time I have a new video. Thank you so much. And until next time when I come your way again, please stay safe and be blessed. Bye bye.